sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh shit, like what are we doing to ourselves?
Yeah,
And I feel like by complying with a lot of things, we're just feeding the beast, and it's important to me to understand what the motives are, because there has to be an argument against it, because I just don't believe in what they're doing.
My partial solution is non-compliance. You tell me what to do, is a good chance I'll do the opposite. But I encourage people to do that. Yeah, this COVID thing was it's the third worst pandemic in the last 650 years. But the COVID pandemic was a gift to the globalists and the power elite that we just discussed. Mm-hmm. Because the easiest way, you can give orders all you want, but the easiest way to get people to go along, to follow orders, is fear. And this was used to instill fear. Now, once they realized that, once that came together over the course of 2020, they said, hey, we got to keep this thing going. We got to.
Well, you can see that day by day.
We got to keep the fear out there because it's working for us. And by the way, I am what I am, but I'm not a libertarian, and I'm not an Austrian economist. I study Austrian economics. I think it has something to offer. But I know people, I won't mention names, there's no need, but kind of go to, George Mason University at a very high graduate level. George Mason is known, it's a fine school, but it's known as kind of a libertarian Austrian center, and, work for, say, Reason magazine, and, read Ayn Rand, and check all the boxes, right? You're like, okay, you are the greatest libertarian. You stand up to government. You don't let them boss you around. So the minute COVID came along, they just snapped to attention. Wearing their masks in a car by themselves, staying home, not going out. I did the opposite. I started planning field trips. Like, if it was hard to fly, I say, okay, talk to my wife and says, let's go to Pittsburgh, visit the Andy Warhol Museum, because I want to see some Andy Warhol art. And we did, and we had fun. The hotels were empty, the streets were empty, but we just said, let's get out. You can't live in fear. And I wear, I use a bandana style mask. And I never wear it unless I have to. So if I go into your store, it's a private store, I don't know, Trader Joe's now, if they require a mask, I put the mask on. I'm not going to sit there and fight with the greeter at Trader Joe's about a mask. I have a choice also, which is I don't have to go in, right? But on the street, in my car, anywhere else I can think of, in a park, I don't wear a mask, period. And I've seen people shy away from me, cross the street. Here comes a guy without a mask. I'm encouraging people to tear up their masks, throw away their masks, declare independence, visit your family, to get involved in social gatherings. Let's get our lives back. Stop living in fear. But that's me, easier said than done. People are living in fear. And when they live in fear, they're easier to boss around. So why would you want to stop the fear? You have to keep it going.
Yeah. And you can raise taxes that way.
Oh, yeah. Because it's like the first thing you said, Addison, is they're pushing this infrastructure bill. Well, somehow childcare, government subsidized childcare, and paid family leave are infrastructure. They're in the infrastructure bill. You can look it up. Well, why is that infrastructure? Well, if you ask Jen Psaki in the White House briefing room, she goes, well, it's human infrastructure. Oh, really? I thought infrastructure meant bridges, tunnels, roads, and airports. Now it means childcare.
Yeah. Well, but that's what they've been saying. That it literally has been what they're saying is we have to broaden the definition of infrastructure. But what they're saying is any concern that anyone has, the government can solve it, and we're going to tax you in order to pay for the agenda that we have created.
Well, yeah, but okay, so they do polls. They said Americans support infrastructure. Well, Americans do support infrastructure. If you mean bridges, tunnels, airports and roads, they do. But do they support paid family medical leave? Well, some do, some don't. It's a legitimate policy issue. I'm not being categorical about whether you should do that or not, but don't call it infrastructure.
Before we continue, help us by smashing that YouTube like button and subscribe now to this channel. This shows the algorithm that you value the information, and it helps us spread this message. Sharing is caring. Please like and subscribe now. Thank you. And now let's continue.
They do call it infrastructure because they know infrastructure is popular. So how do you get a $2 trillion bill? By the way, Addison, I disagree with one thing you said. So they're raising taxes to pay for it. They are raising taxes. You're quite right about that. But if you study modern monetary theory, which is the law of the land, that's what everyone in Washington's doing. How else do you explain $7 trillion of deficit spending in the last 2 years. It took us 230 years to get to 22 trillion in debt, and we've added 7 trillion in 2 years. Debt went up 33% in 2 years after 230 years to get where we were. But modern monetary theory says you don't need a tax system. Because people say, well, because it used to be in Washington, somebody said, well, I want to do this. I want free college tuition, forgive student loans, to pay childcare, pay pre-K, et cetera. And the answer, you could shut down the debate, go, well, fine, but we can't afford it. We got budget rules, et cetera. Well, now when you say we can't afford it, they say, yes, we can, because all you have to do is print the money. In fact, Stephanie Kelton, who's the leading, the bright light of modern monetary theory, such as it is, says we don't even need a bond market. Everyone's like, well, you got to borrow the money, you got to issue bonds. What if they don't buy the bonds? She says, we don't need a bond market. The bond market is a favor. We're doing a favor to investors so they have a place to put their money. All you really have to do is give the Fed wire instructions and tell them to send the money. Why do you need bonds? You want a $12 million aircraft carrier from General Dynamics or whoever makes them. Just give them the wire instructions, send the money straight from the Fed. Why do you need a bond market? Okay, Stephanie, what else you got on your mind? Well, she goes, we don't need a tax system. The idea that you have to pay for stuff is nonsense. Just send the money from the Fed. Oh, well, why do we have a tax system? Oh, we don't need it to pay for things, but we do need it to redistribute income. So now things are so far gone, things are so radical that it used to be, you said, well, we need taxes to pay for the spending. Then they said, well, no, not really. We can spend all we want, not a problem. And then you say, well, why are you raising taxes? Well, the answer is to redistribute income. Now, they're going to say that they're raising taxes to pay for the infrastructure bill, which isn't an infrastructure bill. You see how these are all lies? The infrastructure bill is not an infrastructure bill. It's mostly social spending. And they're not raising taxes to pay for it, even though they say they are, because they say they don't need a tax system. They are raising taxes to redistribute income, take it from the rich and give it to everybody else. So it's one lie after another, but the result is spending that will not have any stimulative effect, by the way. If you want to get down to the economics, you're not going to get the stimulus, you're not going to get the growth. Taxes are a headwind to growth. Now we're getting kind of back to your earlier question about, well, what can an investor do in this world? But it's just one lie after another.
What to do in such a situation? Inform yourself and keep your financial education strong. We from the Compact Group offer our loyal subscribers a free educational portal with first-hand monetary, financial, and economic knowledge. Enter our invite-only Insider Club by clicking the link below. You will get access to first-class information far earlier than the rest. We have prepared a special deal for all our members where you can access a giant pool of Robert Kiyosaki's financial wisdom for just $1. To find out more, simply click the link below and join our Insider Club absolutely free. But there is more you can and should do. Build up several streams of income. More and more people realize that they have to take their future in their own hands, but they don't know how and where to start. We from Compact offer our Insider Club members unique opportunities. Strengthen your financial muscle and get the edge. Click the link below. Become part of our free Insider Club. No financial obligations. But there's one important thing you have to know. You have to become active. So do it now. Become active and see you on the other side.